Welcome to the Selling from the Heart podcast on the Salescast Network. You've joined a global movement of sales professionals who are dedicated to being authentic and building trust. We call it Selling from the Heart. Together, we are on a mission to bring sincerity and substance to the sales profession we all love. Get ready to be inspired and equipped as we join our hosts, Larry Levine and Darrell Amy.
Are you ready to discover what sets the best workplaces apart? We are so proud to introduce Culture from the Heart, our newest show launching in January. We'll be diving into conversations with the CEOs of heart-centered companies, leaders who built cultures that inspire and thrive.
And we're on a mission to find the heart-centered CEOs of America. Join us as we uncover the secrets behind award-winning workplaces and learn how these visionaries lead with purpose.
And you can help. Do you work for a company with a heart-centered CEO? We would love to interview them. You can nominate them now at www.culturefromtheheart.com. Look forward to the show in January, and if you have a CEO that's heart-centered, nominate them today at www.culturefromtheheart.com. Hello and welcome back to the Selling from the Heart podcast. Your co-host, Darrell Amy, here today with Larry Levine. What's going on, Larry?
We got a lot of stuff going on. You're doing this because I know Darrell's not in the Selling from the Heart studio. I know you're out traveling. Great seeing you. We're gonna have a great time today.
We got Jason Cutter in the house. We've got some Authentic Persuasion headed your way. It's going to be a fantastic day here at Selling from the Heart. And it's so great. We're off to a fantastic start in this new year. And I'm so excited for all the things that are ahead. And one of the things that we're just so appreciative of here at the Selling from the Heart podcast is all of our friends who are out there liking, sharing, and especially leaving reviews for this show. It is helping us spread the movement of authenticity. And we've got a review. I just want to say a huge shout out to our friend Chad Treadway. We appreciate you. Chad said, only listen to this podcast if you want to be better at sales. It's one of my top listens. If you want to hear from the industry sales experts who know what it means to be in the trenches and sell in today's complex environment, this is a must listen. Chad, thank you for your review, and thank you for everybody else who is leaving reviews on the for this Selling from the Heart podcast on whatever platform you watch or listen to this podcast. We appreciate you.
No, it's so good. And you know, here we are. We're heading into the 8th year. April's going to be 8 years. By the way, you can send us all happy birthdays when we're 8 years old in April in 2025. But I just want to say thank you. This has been one awesome ride. Together, we're building this movement we call Selling from the Heart.
Absolutely. It's so exciting. And all of this has been about authenticity. And that's why we're so excited to welcome back to the podcast, Jason Cutter. Jason's an acclaimed author whose insights into sales strategies have transformed the approach of countless sales professionals. Jason, who comes from intriguingly and interestingly from a background in marine biology, has successfully navigated his way to becoming a sales expert, proving that the right techniques and mindset can lead anyone to success in sales. His book, Selling with Authentic Persuasion, Transformed from Order Taker to Quota Breaker, provides a detailed framework for sales success, emphasizing the power of authentic persuasion over mere transactional interactions. His book's a must-read for any of us looking to move beyond being order takers and become leaders into achieving sales quotas. And he's right here in the studio with us. Jason, welcome back to Selling from the Heart. It's great to have you here.
Super excited to be here in the green room. I was having some snacks and a beverage you guys left for me, which is great. I appreciate it. I was thinking back, like last time I was here, the first time I was here was 4 years ago, and just thinking about how much has changed, how much has gone on in life in 4 years. And it's great to be back with you guys. And the 4 years of the second half of your 8 year of your podcast, it's pretty cool to be the middle and then celebrate towards the 8 years for you guys.
Well, you know what's really great about this, Darrell? Jason called it. We upgraded the snacks and the beverages. So I'm glad you're partaking in the virtual snacks.
So much better than 4 years ago. The budget in the green room 4 years ago was rough. But hey, it's all, you guys have gotten pro now.
Oh, it's all we good. Have the The perks never end here at Selling from the Heart. And as an experienced guest on the podcast, Jason, the question that every guest on the Selling from the Heart podcast answers, and that is, what does it mean to you to sell from the heart?
Well, and what's interesting is I don't know the answer I gave 4 years ago, but the big thing for me, selling from the heart, and as soon as I heard about Larry in the book and then you guys in the podcast, for me, it's always about selling from a place of where I have such deep empathy and care for you as a human, that I want to do whatever I can to leave you in a better place than I found you. Whether I sell you or I don't sell you, I give you some good advice, I help you, I make sure that you buy from me because you need it that bad. It's always about leaving someone in a better place than I found them.
Oh, this is so good. I knew you would give us a good answer, Jason, but I just gotta ask you to expand on this. Just because you used a word that's really interesting in front of empathy. You said deep empathy.
Deep empathy.
Can you elaborate
Yeah.
on that just for a moment? Because it's so funny, because in the trust formula, we're just not value, it's meaningful value. So you got to elaborate on empathy and then deep empathy. Where are you going with this?
Well, and to me, there's a lot of buzzwords out there, right? Like the three of us work and operate and live and coach and see a world full of these buzzwords. And Gary Vee says, "Hey, do more empathy," and everyone says, "Oh, I'm going to have empathy," and this is great. And it's really like people are really do really valuable discovery. Sounds good. I'll ask a couple questions and then I'll pitch them with my 82 PowerPoint slide deck, right? Like it's very like surfacey. So for me, it's about what's like genuine and deep, obviously authentic, heart-centered. And so what is that deep empathy? Not and to me, again, because of the stuff I've sold in the past before getting into consulting, it was really about like, if I don't help you, something really bad is going to happen. Like there was a period of time where my sales role was helping people who were in foreclosure avoid losing their house to auction and then the sheriff coming. If I couldn't help them and get them unstuck, literally they were going to be homeless. There was a terrible outcome coming. And it wasn't my responsibility, but I felt like I really want to help you. And if I don't, I know what's going to happen. And so it's that mode where if I know I can help someone, it's almost the gloves are off because I can't let you down by not helping you.
Yeah, I love that. And that really dovetails really nicely into this conversation we want to have today. In the world of sales, there's all kinds of different sales roles. We hear about B2B. I'm a business to business salesperson. I'm a B2C. I'm a business to consumer salesperson. I'm B2G. I sell to government. I sell all of these things. But as we were talking before the show, B2B, B2C, B to whatever, it really doesn't matter because everything is H to H. Unpack that for us, if you would.
Yeah, and I really, when I remember writing my book in 2019 and I showed it to some people and they're like, "Oh, have you checked out Larry Levine Selling from the Heart?" And like that's amazing. Like it's just such in line. And Bob Burg's Go Giver. And it's like it's this whole mode where at the fundamental level of all of it, it's one person talking to another person and trying to help them, right? Solve a problem, move them forward. It's really like you said, it's H to H, which is what I've been trying to get people to understand, is at the fundamental level, it's human to human. It's one human salesperson trying to deal with a scared, confused, worried, stressed human who has goals and hopes and dreams and baggage and trauma and all kinds of things, and a boss or a significant other, or, whatever it is, and you're just trying to help them. And so, a lot of people think, well, you don't know what I do because I'm in business to business sales or I'm in retail sales. It's like, it's still humans, right? There might be different aspects to it at the surface, but that's why I think one of the biggest things that a lot of people in sales struggle with their success is because they're at the surface, kind of going back to the deep empathy part, is they're at the surface level of the motions of sales without actually understanding more about humans and psychology and personalities and behaviors and what makes people tick and what makes people not buy. And when you understand that part, then the sales is an easy layer to add on top.
Hey, I got to make a funny. I'm sitting here listening to what Jason was saying. Oh boy. Oh boy. Wait till you hear this one. So I'm sitting here thinking about something. And this is what I'm thinking about the whole time listening to Mr. Jason Cutter. I said, because we're bringing in the human aspect to this. So let's all think together for a moment on this. Imagine speaking to your friends and your family members the same, stop it, the same way you speak to insert titles of all these people that you speak to. And where I'm going with this is, can you imagine talking to one of your friends saying, well, I knew you were a retired chief financial officer. So, and I'm a salesperson, so I'm going to talk to you as if I'm that salesperson talking to a retired chief financial officer. People, I'm making a silly here. It's human conversation. What happens if we just remove the titles out of all of this? You're not insert AE or major account person. You're just Jason Cutter, a human, having a conversation with Darrell Amy. Take titles out of this. It's what you do in your personal life. Let's transfer that to your business life.
And that's one of the biggest things, because it's funny, but it's true. And it's sad because of salespeople who then think they have to play this part or treat someone a certain way. Like, you always want to be professional. You want to be the professional version of you versus the Friday night with your friends version of you. But that's why I wrote the book that I did and titled it Selling with Authentic Persuasion, where authentic is before persuasion. It's not persuasive authenticity. It's not something you weaponize. It's like, you are authentic first and then let's persuade, because it's tough to be a full-time actor all the time and get it all right and live this like personality. You can do it some of the time, but it's really hard to sustain, right? I'm not talking about adaptability. I'm not talking about molding to who you're talking to and understanding personalities and selling to someone the way they want to buy. But yeah, like turning on professional me mode, and now I'm making phone calls and I'm all serious and professional. And I use big words that nobody cares about. Like, I advocate that doesn't work, like, long term.
And I think that's the human to human part of this, is recognizing that at the end of the day, if I'm in my professional mode, kind of going back to what Larry was saying about, okay, I'm like, what are all the concerns and outcomes of a CFO, and all of that, and I get in this professional mode about, and open the slide deck and all of that. But the reality is that whether that's a CFO or whomever you're selling to, there's a human being behind that who has not only business issues and goals and aspirations, but as important, or maybe more important, also has all these personal goals, aspirations, fears and concerns. But I'm curious, when you we're coaching, maybe you can coach us for a minute here. When you're talking to a sales professional and saying, hey, you gotta H to H this thing, you gotta rehumanize and show up. Coach us on how you would advise that we kind of reframe, or kind of get ourselves in the right place to approach engagements with our prospects and clients in a more authentic way.
I think it kind of goes back to that intro question and then, my response, which is, I
Mhm.
want you, let's say, Darrell, is I want you to focus on, and what I want to do is shift away from trying to sell somebody something, or it's the end of the month, or it's the end of the quarter, or I've got to hit this number, I've got to make these calls, or I've got to do this demo too. How do I help you? How do I help you as an individual and get you to a better place? What is it that you want or need? And then my job is to just figure that out. Nothing else
Mhm.
matters. Everything else is just tools in the toolbox to get you there. But my number one goal is to figure out what you want, but even more important, because this is what most people in sales are missing, is why you want it. It's one of the number one things that I teach people to do different in discovery, because most people's discovery in sales is really good at the what. Darrell, what is it that you
Mhm.
want from your next CRM software? And what do you not like about your current CRM software? And what do you hope it could do for you? Right? Like, we just surfacey check the boxes going through the discovery. And for me, I've relabeled discovery as empathy. So for me, I go from rapport to empathy to trust to hope to urgency, where it's not discovery to me. I call it the empathy phase, right? This is the empathy phase in our conversation, because to me, discovery is asking you questions. Empathy means I care about the answers enough to want to get you to the best place. which means that my questions and my approach and my mindset is totally different, right? I'm not just doing discovery to figure out what to sell you. I actually care. And so getting people to care in sales about the person and the outcome. And like I said, the why. Why do you want that CRM? Well, because no, like not the surface reason, but why do you truly want it? Because once I know what you want and why you want it, the deepest level of why that you'll share with me, now there's no outcome, there's no objection, there's no barrier, there's no issue that will ever come up because we just refer back to this why and then we problem solve together. And now it's a totally different approach because once I know your why, that's all that matters. Then again, like I tell everyone, the rest is just paperwork.
Hey, you know what's interesting about this, and I like where you're going with this, and I think I'm going to quote a dear friend of ours here at the podcast here in a moment, but I think more people need to switch to the why part of this. And as I was listening to what you're saying, I had flashbacks of a dear friend of ours by the name of Scott Schilling. Great guy. Scott is a wonderful guy, heart-centered and all that. And I've often quoted him, and I think this is the good time to throw in a Scott Schilling quote, is oftentimes he will say this: we got to walk into conversations with high intention, low attachment. That's hard for a lot of salespeople because if you can walk into these conversations with deep empathy, as Jason has been referring to, you got the high intention to serve. Let that conversation go where it goes and detach from it. That's hard for salespeople because they want they want the high intention, but they also have the high attachment. And they don't go together because it doesn't mix, because then you got commission breath and it's all over. You go, quick rapport, quick discovery too. Here's the solution, but detach from this and watch what happens.
And it's so good. Like that quote and that approach is so important. It is a difficult game to master mentally because humans are so challenged with most things that go on in our brain from just our survival part. But it's tough to imagine both sides of the coin, which is there's 8 billion people on the planet. I don't need you to buy, and I truly don't care if you buy or not. That's not going to change my life. Two, I ask you the right discovery questions. I figure out what you want and why, and there's no way I'm letting you not buy if I know I can improve your life or your business in some way. And it's really tough to play both sides of that game.
Yeah. Oh man, it's such a great conversation, Jason. And I'm thinking about going back to the H to H. We talked about human to human, but there's another H word that I think we have to consider inside this, and that's who's the real hero inside this engagement. And I gotta say, it's pretty. I know. I'll just speak for Larry. Salespeople have a lot of self confidence, and we think we're the hero, don't we? I mean, really, we think we're the one that is going to swoop in and boom, we're the hero. We're going to solve the problem. We're going to go back to the office. We're going to be the hero at the office, and all of that. But one of the things that you bring up that's, I think, such an important thing in this whole idea of deep empathy is rethinking, or at least being very clear on who the actual hero is in all of these conversations and engagements.
It's one of those things I've been screaming as loud as I can to groups and individuals for the last couple years, is that there fundamentally can only be one hero in this story, right? And we as humans, we are completely self-centered. We think we are the center of the universe, and it's survival. We've had to, like, if we don't take care of ourselves, who will, right? Like, that's how we've made it. We are also a part of a tribe of humans, and that's how we've survived and dominated this planet. So we also have to work well as a group, but it's really all about us. And if you don't agree, you're like, no, I'm not that way. I'm not self-centered. When you're At the grocery store, are you walking around pushing your cart going, I'm shopper number 3 in that lady's story, and let me just drop something here and then see what happens, and let me, I'm just a part of her. No, you're like me. Like, get your cart out of the way. Why are you in line? Why is everybody here? Just let me grab my stuff, right? Like, we are so self-centered. It's what we do as humans. The problem is that you have a self-centered salesperson, which is a higher level. I'm going to argue. We could go on that. We could talk about that, or I could just leave it like that. But salespeople, again, to your point, they've been trained by their company and mentally to be the hero. The company says, you're the hero, go be a hero. And then they're talking to another human who is a human. And so they think they're the hero. Your customer thinks they're the center of the story and that everything revolves around them. And so the problem is you cannot have two heroes in a story. You can have one hero, you can have a sidekick, and you can have a villain. And if you try to be the hero, the customer who's always right, this is the moment where your prospects and customers are always right. They are the hero, and they will determine what you are in their story, and then they will treat you accordingly.
Okay, so here's the question. It's a question and it's a word. So the word is reprogram. So how do we reprogram or reframe this approach so that sales leaders understand that in order for them to increase revenue, increase profits, increase trust, I can go on, they got to reprogram not only their thinking, their salespeople's thinking to say, okay, we're not the heroes. Our clients and our future clients are the heroes. We got to approach this in a different way. So how do they start reprogramming the mind?
I love
Get
it.
what I'm saying?
That's a great question. Yeah, and I know that we have a limited time in the podcast. If this was one of those like 3-hour shows, like that would be like the perfect time to unpack this. But
Give the Jason
the
Cutter
big thing.
flyover.
All right, I'll talk twice as fast like I do on the podcast. So the biggest thing is to reprogram our minds and realize that if they're the hero, then we have to be the guide. This is one of the fundamental things from my training and my speaking that I really help people shift that mindset. Is your job is to be the guide, the mentor, and the leader of that prospect, of their journey where they're trying to get to. And if you think of every hero's journey from movie and story, like from Star Wars to Harry Potter to whatever you want, where there's an arc, where there's a person who doesn't realize they're this hero and then they become the hero and then they're on this journey. That's your job. Your prospect is trying to go from here where they would rather not be, not always in pain. Sometimes they all just want gain, but they're here. They would rather be here. And so your job is to guide them there and to tell them, I have helped other people like you. Here's how I've done it. Here's what they've done. Trust me. I know how to get up the mountain successfully. Follow me and we'll get there. And that last part is super important. This is where I think a lot of salespeople miss the mark, because it's really about leadership. And I'm not talking about sales managers or director of sales leadership. I'm talking about in a dynamic there, you want to be a leader as a salesperson of the prospect. And here's the difference, right? Classic sales to me, which I think is generally gross and terrible and ineffective, right? So I'll just say that because I can, is classic sales is management. New sales, selling from the heart, authentic persuasion, everything in that bucket is about sales leadership. And here's what I mean. Management is pushing and nagging and convincing and bribing and whatever you've got it, manipulating, whatever you've got to do to get that task completed. Think of a manager, not a leader, in a job. Think of when you manage your kids to do their homework. When you manage anything, it's about as much brute force as it takes to get that task done. Classic sales is about managing that prospect by whatever it takes to get them across the finish line, whether they want to move there or not. Leadership is about setting a vision and a destination and then creating that space for the person you're dealing with, whether you're leading a team or your prospect, and then pulling them along the way. Management is pushing, classic sales is pushing, leadership is pulling. I'm going here, come with me, let's go. And so by shifting your mindset into a leader, guide, mentor mode, now I'm talking to that prospect saying, you're here, here's where we're going. I know how to get there. Follow me and I will help you succeed at whatever it is. And now you're pulling and people are following you.
Oh man, I love this. As you're talking, Jason, I'm having flashbacks. Since we last spoke, I landed on an airstrip in the middle of the Himalayas, and you could see these mountains off in the distance. And we went on a trek to go to Mount Everest Base Camp, and we had these guides with us, and they're Sherpas, amazing, incredible human beings. And so they guided us 40 plus miles and 10, all the way up to 18,000 feet, and coached us along the way. We couldn't breathe and thought we were going to die, and all of that. And I was just thinking how absurd it would be if if the guides pretended they were the hero, if they met us at the airport and said, man, I'm so glad, this is going to be such a fun trip, and I'm glad you guys are here to help us get to the it's like, it's so, it would be absurd, so upside down. But the flip side was, I had a destination I wanted to get to, and I knew that if I tried to do that on my own, there's a chance that I might not get there and might not die. We actually met some people out in the mountains that didn't have Sherpas, and they're just kind of wandering around going, yeah, can you tell me where to get, and just like, but anyhow, all of that to say, I think I'm just seeing crystal clear here as sales professionals, when we walk in with the mindset that we're the hero in the story, it would be as absurd as, the Sherpas going, hey, I'm glad you guys are with us. We're the hero. They're the ones that are up there. And by the way, by the end of that trek, we were in love. We are so just appreciative of these guys and that were Sherpas on this trek. And I think ultimately, when we make the other person, the prospect, the client, the hero, that's when there's a much greater chance that by the end of the journey, they're going to be, so thankful and grateful for what we've done. Anyhow, thanks for letting me go down memory lane there. But I think getting it clear, I'm not the hero. That was before starting the day and before walking into the appointment, to go, I'm not the hero, I'm the guide. I'm not, I'm not Luke Skywalker, I'm Obi-Wan Kenobi, for all my Gen X friends listening in. And this is so pivotal. And I think if we can get this right in 2025 here, at the beginning of the year, we can make a massive difference just with clarity over who's the hero, who's the guide, and what does it actually mean to be a guide. I think we talk about sales professionals, sales consultants, business development. What if we just called ourselves guides and thought of us like we're going to take someone on a journey to a destination? How beautiful would that be?
And so here's the big thing, and this is what ties a lot of it together, that this is the starting point of usually where I begin this journey with people to help them understand and shift their mind, is that not just everyone is self-centered as humans and we just focus on, and then of course there is philanthropy, we do great things, we do favors for people, we take care of people. It's not that, it's this deep primal survival thing. But here's the thing, 2025, beginning of 2025 right now, and it's been this way for a few years, thanks to the internet, thanks to access to everything, thanks to our fact that we have all the world's information and knowledge at our fingertips. Nobody needs you and your company anymore to tell them how things work or what's available as an option. Now, there are times when that might be important. There's also companies out there which I can't stand, where they have nothing about their product on the website. You have to fill out a form, so you have to talk to a salesperson to jump through their gauntlet of hoops and questions and go through that in order to find out anything about it. And those people will just die off because people are going to tolerate that less and less. But because of this mode that we're in now, which is not a thing when the three of us, Gen X mode or older, remember how sales used to be, where sales people and companies had the knowledge. And what's true is that knowledge is power. So back in the day, salespeople had all the power because they had all the knowledge. So they held all the cards and you had to deal with them. You had to suffer through them. You had to go through their process and they were in control. Now, the playing field is level. I don't need to talk to anybody to buy anything. to get information about how it works. If I'm talking to you as a salesperson, it's because I don't know what the right choice is, and I really need help. I need some wisdom. I don't need knowledge. I don't need information. I promise I probably know more about your product than you do by just watching a YouTube video or searching up online. Like, I get it, but I don't know what the right choice is. And so salespeople also need to realize your job isn't to spew information, right? Features and benefits don't matter anymore. It's about how is this going to help me in my own situation, which goes back to the deep empathy and the discovery conversation, wrapping all the way to the beginning.
And I think this, as we bring this to a close, I think this is more important than ever before is whatever title you want to give yourself based on watching or listening to this podcast today is you got to become better at asking really sincere, heartfelt, caring questions. And I really want us to think about this. Buyers, your clients, future clients, they are really smart. They are really smart. Their radar is tuned into the basic questions that they're going to get from everybody else. But I've said this, if you want to get the responses that no one's getting, you got to change the questions that you're asking. Ask truly heartfelt, sincere questions. Watch what starts to happen as you're picking people up off the floor because they fell over because they're going, what the heck just happened? Serious. Dead serious.
Yeah, that's authentic persuasion right there.
That's the key. And I hate standard advice when someone says, well, what's the one piece of advice that would help? It's like everybody's different. Your situation. It's like, what's the one movie you recommend? I don't know. What kind of movies are you into? Right? Like, it just depends. But I will tell you, if push comes to shove, the one piece of standard advice I give everyone is do the opposite of what you think a salesperson is supposed to do. Whatever you think salespeople are supposed to do, just do the opposite of that. And you will be so different from everyone else who's a salesperson, air quote salespeople for the podcast listeners, that you will stand out, to your point, Larry, in the conversations with your prospects who are professional, like buyers and customers in their life, whether it's their job or not. You will stand out and blow them away. And that on its own will work better.
Oh, beautiful. What a great conversation. I'm so glad you came back to Selling from the Heart to hang out with us today. Jason, I know the question everyone listening in is asking themselves right now is, how can I get more Jason Cutter in my life?
Easiest thing is to go to sellingeffectiveness.com. So you can go there. That's a hub. I've got articles, podcasts, all kinds of resources, books, more books than 4 years ago. But to make it easy, if you want, I am the #1 ranked Jason Cutter on Google. So just Google Jason Cutter and you will find a lot of stuff there and go down whatever trail you want to help you out in sales or business.
Oh, so good.
Awesome.
Hey, Jason, thanks for hanging out with us again. We appreciate it.
Thanks, guys, for having me.
Awesome. What a great conversation. And especially as we kick off this new year, so many nuggets in there. I'm just thinking about, what can it look like if we combine deep empathy with deep questions and recognizing that we're not the hero, we're the guide. How much this mindset, and it really is beginning with a mindset, has the potential to make 2025 one of the best years, maybe the best year yet.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So, all right, it's just, you guys bear with me because it's just my brain's just like working in this really wacky way. Because I know some of you all are still hung up on titles, right? I know how sales world rolls. You're so enamored by you got to have some title. So if you want to change your title and you enjoyed the conversation with Mr. Cutter and Darrell and myself, then change your title to I'm a sales Sherpa. Because maybe if you say you're a sales Sherpa, it might change the mindset around all of this. And then it'll kick in. I'm a guide, right? I'm not a sales rep. I'm not an account executive. I'm a sales Sherpa. Oh, no, Darrell, I'm sorry. I just had to throw that out. Jason, thanks for allowing me to go down that way. But
well, this is incredibly practical, and encourage everyone to click the links in the show notes and dive into Jason's material. We've got some amazing conversations lined up in the months to come. You're going to be so excited about what's ahead. So make sure to like and subscribe. And if you've already done that and you're already checked us out on YouTube. And by the way, I looked last week. We have almost 700 videos on YouTube. So if you haven't stopped by Selling from the Heart, all of our podcast episodes are on there. But there's a ton of bonus stuff. And so when you go to YouTube, do us a favor, hit that subscribe button. And what that does is it helps us continue to spread this movement and authenticity of trust right here in this sales profession we all love.
I hear you on that one. But we got to ratchet this up one more. Sorry, we got to ratchet this up one more.
Okay.
Please bear with me. And then once you do, please leave us a review.
Yes.
Please leave us a review. Help us spread this movement. Share some kind words. Tell everyone what you're grabbing from the Selling from the Heart podcast. And if there's somebody you want to see or hear on the podcast, please let us know as well.
That's right. Because together we're making a difference in the sales profession we all love. So until next time, keep being genuine, keep being authentic, keep building trust, have deep empathy and be the guide. And most of all,
Sell from the heart.